And he observed on himself, and then being doctor and being, driven, he started to do intentional experiments. One McDonald's meal, which is like, okay, he came, he did some fries, Big Mac, something, yeah? For 3 days, he had nihilistic and depressed mood for no reason. This is how strong it is. The processed food through the gut flora just messed it up and kicked his mood to a completely different level.
Hey, Paolo, I was trying to remember after we spoke the other day where we actually met. Obviously, it was in Dubai. I couldn't really remember the specifics. I think maybe I was training people in the gym where you were head coach.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was in the gym, but I think there was somebody who introduced us. But I can't remember who was it.
Nah,
and you
can't remember.
Okay, you just came. Yeah, you came to the gym, and then kind of out of nowhere, you just started to coach there as well. So
yeah. Wormed my way in slowly.
Yeah.
Well, quickly.
Yeah, fairly quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was immediately apparent to me that you were doing things differently to most coaches, or more in depth. At least that was what I saw, and I know that you've developed since then on what you were doing at the time, which was working with people on their breathing, sleep, using cold exposure, a certain nutrition protocol, would you call it?
Yeah, it's hard to call it something. It's a rules. It's set of rules and principles that I believe, and from my experience and on people who I'm using it, and myself, obviously, it's simple principles that works. It's following the actual physiology and kind of disregarding the emotion people have around the food. This is something that I know many people have problem with that, but it was just, to me, it came naturally. And then I sometimes had a clash of understanding that people have emotional attachment to food. Now I know it's the case, but I also know that you can get over it.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, if we would really simplify it, food is fuel, but in a sense of you really do it intentionally and with a purpose. Yeah. It can taste well. Obviously, it can. And it's not like I don't enjoy good food, but I will never have a food that I know is bad for me just because I know it would taste well. Like McDonald's tastes well. I know it does. Well, they engineer it so it tastes well, right? Intentionally, but that doesn't mean that it's good for us, right? So
yeah, it's about looking. I guess it's looking at what you actually want to achieve, looking further than
the taste buds.
that sort of hug that you're going to get when you bite into the Big Mac. Looking a few hours ahead, or a few weeks ahead, or a few months ahead, and
like
making a different choice.
The basic definition of discipline is making choices that will benefit you on the long run, not on a kind of short gratification. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. So it's like, so you want to be healthy, and you want to, well, that's a very broad term, but in general, you want to be healthy, you want to look certain way, you want to perform certain way, and perform doesn't necessarily mean in a sense of sport performance, but life performance. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sharp focus and all that. If you want that more than you want that bite of the Big Mac, as you said, well, then the choice is pretty clear. Or it should be. Yeah. But there is many factors why people struggle with that.
Yeah, it's very nuanced, isn't it? But the most interesting thing to me about how you approach all of this, and movement. I miss movement off there. So it's breathing, sleep, cold exposure, nutrition, and movement.
Yep.
We're on a foundation of the nervous system. So can you explain that and why you do that?
So for how we feel in daily life, there are certain stages. We can go way deeper into that. There are certain stages or states, as we like to call them, that we are going through. Yeah, the fight and flight, everybody knows. Yeah, I even don't really like to call it fight and flight state, because fight and flight are very different. In certain aspects, they are opposite. So it's not fight and flight response, it's fight or flight response. And which one will be the response will be determined by many other factors, right? Then we have flow, which is our daily normal, optimally, our daily operation where we are spending most of the time. And also sleep.
So when you're saying flow, it's not necessarily what some people would think of as flow,
yes.
which is that.
No, it's not the state of flow. By the way, I actually did my bachelor and master thesis on the state of flow, how it was described by Dr. Csikszentmihalyi, which is the guy who basically came to the Western world with the state of flow, or what in sport it's many times referred to the zone. Yeah, that's like there is a balance between. There needs to be a balance between the challenge and the skill, and then we are kind of channeling through the flow. It's the state where we completely disregard the time and all that. But this is not that. This is not that can be part of it. But actually, funny enough, this state of flow actually happens when there is a balance between flow and fight, where we are challenged because the fight is the challenge. Right? But we are still managing it. If we stop managing the challenge, we most likely drop into the flight, because we are not productive much and we are not chasing anymore, but we are the ones who are chased. We are the victim of the situation, not the driver of the situation. And so basically, looking at this whole nervous system thing and how it impacts us, there is this chart that I can send you, and I believe that we spoke about it a couple of times before. And
phylogenetic
hierarchy, yes, which basically means it's this graphic representation. It's just a display of which makes it way better for people to understand what is happening when they have it in front of them. It's a circle with 4 quadrants. Left, right is flow. Left bottom is freeze, right top is fight, and right bottom is flight. And there is many interactions across all these states. And the whole idea is, without going too deep into the states yet, the whole idea is that all the 5 aspects of what I'm mostly working with, and that's breathing. And I'm starting always with the breathing because that's the one you do the most out of all these anyway. Yeah. So breathing, nutrition, because that's the second one you do most often. Sleep, then training, and cold exposure. And all of them are impacted by nervous system and these states, but also all of them impact the nervous system and the states. And if you would have these 5 in a kind of circle, which is also one of the logos or like infographics I created, there is always interaction in between all these 5. Always. Sleep will influence your training. Your nutrition will influence how you sleep. Your nutrition will influence how you train, but also how you train will influence your... it's all interconnected. Everything is interconnected. And your breathing is the most obvious one. Cold exposure, you're not going to survive. And the point is not surviving, point is thriving once you do the cold exposure. because for many other benefits of building resilience, but also on a physiological level, the immunity response, and basically working with yourself, where the ice is the representation of the most intense stress you can ever kind of impose on yourself externally. Yeah. Then training, I see more as an internal, because in training you create that discomfort. In ice you don't. That is created by just being there. Yeah. So in training, however uncomfortable it is, you always are setting the pace. Even if some people shouting at you go faster, it's your decision to go faster. But if you drop into ice bucket, where basically the temperature is 0.3, 0.5, where we getting usually, it's not your decision how cold it will be. Yeah. What you can only do is to deal with how it impacts you.
So that's where you start to see the intersection. Well, as you said, there's an intersection between all of them.
Yes.
But if we take ice and movement as an example, by going in the ice, well, we'll talk about breath, movement, and ice. So by going in the ice, your initial response is a fight or flight response, nervous system response. Your breathing is going to become more rapid, so you have to control it. You're being aware that you are being pushed into that sympathetic fight or flight response.
Yes.
And if you translate that over to movement, it means that when things get difficult, when your nervous system gets more ramped up in a workout, you've been there before in the cold.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would even say that because the experience in ice is very intense. Yeah. Workout, not necessarily that intense, because you can do workout where you're focusing in being in the flow. Yeah. So you focus on, again, through the breathing. You only breathe through your nose. You go easy cardio. You start sweating like crazy, but it's not necessarily hard in a meaning of like every second sucks. Yeah. And you can't do that kind of activity to the limit every single day. Even pro athletes don't do that because it's just overreach for the nervous system.
I did that for 18 months and then found out the hard way.
Yeah, exactly. You of course you can do it, but you can also jump out of the window. There are just consequences. Yeah. So you can do anything you want. You can do absolutely anything you want, but you need to count with the consequences. And so I see that the ice and cold exposure, and it can start with as simple thing as icing your hands, because that sucks. Like for me personally, only hands is worse than the whole body for different reasons. But the focus, 80% of all the sensory receptors are in the hands. All the fine touch, fine motor skills, everything is in the fingers. So if you put them into extreme, like 1 degree water, and like I have feeling I want to puke, and I have only hands in, but it's so intense that you're getting physically sick. But if you can go through that and with a proper breathing, you will calm yourself down, because the puking, the physiological response, the voices in your head, get the fuck out of there. Like you need to get out, it's only your brain telling you that what you're doing right now, it's not worth the energy you're spending on it. And many people have different responses to this extreme. For example, there was one period of time where my response to ice bath was that I dipped down and my thoughts were, this is so boring. What am I even doing? I can just go out and it's so boring. And I was bored. But it's a sequence of boredom. I always remember it as a BFAAA. Boredom, frustration, anxiety, anger towards external circumstances or others, and then anger towards yourself. These are stages where you will find yourself somewhere there. Yeah. And each time this is happening, it's your brain asking you, is the amount of energy we expending right now for this task worth the reward? Yeah. And the physiological response as well. You are prone to hyperventilating, holding the breath. Your eyes are popping out, like you have the puking feeling. Like this is all there, but it's only your brain creating the excuses and reasons why to get out of there. That's your time to focus, get through the breathing to the root of it, calm yourself down, and then chill. If you will, this is very like raw estimate, but if you will be able to focus on the breathing correctly for 90 seconds to 2 minutes, by 90 seconds, and it sounds a lot, 1 degree water, 90 seconds, it goes by very slowly. But if you will focus on that breath, you will suddenly figure out that it doesn't bother you anymore. And now what that means, that I always explain it like this to people, the discomfort or pain, if you say, I don't like to interchange these two, but honestly, in ice, it's way further than just discomfort. It's really painful. Yeah, because really, like you deep down, and so many people say like, it's not even cold. Like you don't feel like cold, you just feel pain. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this pain has two aspects. One aspect is the information that is going to your brain. It's cold, it's painful. Yeah, it's the information. And the other quality of that, the other aspect, is the emotional part. And that's, I need to get out, I will die, I can't, this is impossible, it's cold, and all that. And that's the emotional response. By the 90 seconds or 2 minutes, you will separate these two, and you'll completely disregard the emotional part. If you do it right. That's the whole goal. Completely disregard the emotional part, and it's not like you fool yourself like, oh, it's not cold anymore. It's fucking cold. It's 1 degree, But you sit there and you will realize, yeah, it's cold. It doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah.
And you're okay.
So really it's the goal is getting to that point and essentially winning the fight instead of going into flight and getting out of the cold. And when you've done, if it takes 90 seconds to 2 minutes, you don't need more than that, because there's some people out there that are like seeing how long they can stay in.
Oh, yeah.
There's once you reach that point where you've won the fight, you've got the benefit, right?
Yes, the mental benefit is done once you will accept this. And now the question people always like, how will I know? It's like, you will know, And if you have to ask, you're not there yet. People there, 80 seconds in or 90 seconds in, they're like, already good? I was like, nah, if you have to ask, it's not there yet, Focus on the breathing. That's the biggest thing. If you will start to acknowledge and really focus on how it sucks, well, what's the point of that? Of course it will suck. Like that's the whole idea of the experience, that it will suck, And
that's why the military use it so much.
Yeah, well, you could probably speak of that, right? But I've seen it, and this is a kind of sad part that here in Dubai, because it's very popular, it's so many centers started to pop out. And
really?
It's crazy. But they don't do any guidance. They buy the bucket that filters cold water around, which is like, it's not cheap, but it's not crazy investment if you have it within a wellness center or a gym. Yeah, like it's nothing for them. But they literally sell 15-minute slots in ice with no instruction, no guidance, nothing. I had a couple of times people came to me because I was posting a lot on the social media about it, and kind of in my circle and people around me, I was always inviting them over. So I don't do it commercially at all. We just have it on the balcony. We order ice and we do it with 4 or 5 friends at a time, tops. Yeah. But we always start with almost a 1 hour theoretical lecture of what is going to be happening, what you might experience, what is happening in your brain, what is happening in your body. All of that, I want them to understand. Will it make it easier? No, absolutely not. But most of them, after coming out, then they'll be like, now I know what you meant. Because we can talk about it hours, but until you will experience it, you will never understand.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
and I had a couple of people who came and it's like I was there and I don't know, but they didn't tell me anything. I don't want to name the centers. They just throwed me in there. I was like, okay, just come over. We did it proper, and they literally suffered through 2 or 3 minutes, not focusing on proper breathing at all. They were hyperventilating, mouth breathing, completely. Basically, they were freaking out on the highest possible level for 3 minutes. Then they go out, and you take a picture on Instagram. I got it.
So you didn't win the fight.
Yeah,
you didn't win the fight. Yeah.
Fake smile. I want to get back to that winning the fight because it's not necessarily that either. And then they went through it with us with the proper breathing, and we do the Wim Hof style breathing, hyperventilation before. So there is some, first of all, it will bring you to the present moment. Second of all, it will center you towards the breathing. And even though the breathing in the eyes and breathing the hyperventilation exercises are very different, but you already have some experience of what it means deep breath, what it means nose in or mouth out, and all that. Yeah, winning the fight, I wouldn't necessarily say that the goal is to win the fight. I would more say that the goal is to bring yourself to the flow mentally.
Okay.
Because physically you will be fighting. But the other side, the opposite side of the total physical fight is absolute mental calmness.
So again, that's how it translates to athletes, right? When it gets to that point where things are really difficult and it really makes a difference, that you're able to stay in flow in your mind.
Look at weightlifters. Or powerlifters. He has one lift to show for it. Or maybe 2. Okay, 2 attempts. Okay, well, it's after 4 years of training, it's still not much, right? On the Olympic Games. He is going to perform or, shoot, what is it? Shot put? The guys shot put. Yeah, the guys who throwing, or the javelin throw. It's extremely short and very, very technical performance. All of them. But it takes a couple of seconds, tops.
Yeah.
But they are not going there all over the place, yelling like barbarians. They are completely content and focused in mind. So it's the, absolute fight expression of body with an absolute flow expression of mind. And that's why many times when it's opposite, when people have very long flowing workout, they're fighting in their head all the time. Because the thoughts are running. That's you are the crazy endurance freak here, so you probably can talk about that more. I don't do that much.
But that's it's interesting though, right? Because that shows that they are able to control that, because that comes out at the last split second.
Yeah,
they scream.
Absolutely. They go there completely focused. If you would tell them anything, they would not remember it. Like they are not there. They are not they are completely in a different dimension mentally when they are focusing. Yeah. And one thing I wanted to really emphasize, because we were now talking about how this, all of the aspects, right? The breathing and nutrition comes into the play, maybe on a longer term manipulation of the nervous system, sleep, obviously recovery and all that. But talking about the breathing and how the breathing can help, we have the exposure of the eyes, which is the ultimate exercise we do to better our response in a total stress. But that stress is not only physical, and it doesn't only have a transfer towards sport at all. Most benefits you will find is the dealing with the daily life, the daily situation. Like Timea, my girlfriend, she had some bad experience with. She had some car accidents and stuff in the past. She was always the passenger, let's say. Yeah, so she really is not comfortable with the traffic. Yeah, to a point that she used to have panic attacks while driving, which is not really nice, and very high stress. And she started to do the Wim Hof breathing every day, and we started to do ice, and we can say that there's 90% improvement. Because she can transfer that when the shit goes wrong and she is feeling like the situation is tense, she knows how to control her breathing, she knows how to bring herself back. And this is why I don't necessarily, from practice, who am I to challenge the doctors, right? But from the practice, I don't really agree with the name of parasympathetic and sympathetic being autonomous nervous system. It was called autonomous because it was considered unable to be influenced by our will and action. But that's not true. Wim Hof proved that. Everybody who's doing ice bath correctly can prove that your activation of nervous system is way easier than you would
I lost you there for about 10 seconds.
Okay.
So you were saying the autonomous nervous system. Yeah. It's not true that they say it's autonomous.
So autonomous nervous system is not as autonomous as everybody was thinking or how it was described, because as Wim Hof proved, and everybody who's doing ice baths correctly and the breathing exercises correctly, I need to always add correctly because you can do it and still not have the benefits if the focus is not on the emphasis and focus is not on the right place. Again, it's not just jumping under a cold stream and hoping for the best, right? There are certain procedures that when you follow, you benefit from it the most. You can literally manipulate your level of activation. I want to be more activated because I need to do a workout, I need to do a round of sparring, I need to do a presentation. You can amp yourself up with a breathing technique.
It's very interesting to me because whenever I talk about breath to people or the nervous system, some people still aren't bought into it. When all you have to do is look at, if a kid gets angry, you say, calm down, take a deep breath. A great example. The first time I ever got shot at, right?
That would be a great example. Yeah.
I turned to my sort of commander. There wasn't much time before we went into this compound where we were taking fire from. And I can't remember exactly what I said, but it was something like, well, what's the plan when we go in there? And, there was no time for a plan. And he just turned to me and said, before you do anything else, take a deep breath. Right? He then turned around to me and said, make sure you shoot back first. It's intuitive. Everybody knows deep down.
Yeah, breathing is intuitive. Running towards fire is not intuitive.
No. Well, it's okay because I'd been in a lot of cold water in training.
So you were like, this is fine. This is fine. So I agree, and also I would add one kind of important detail, that it's not always about the deep breath. I know that you used it as an example. It's not necessarily about how deep you're breathing. Yeah, we know that there's so much that goes into the breath, right? Because you have so many qualities. You have how long is the breath, short or long? Is it inhale or is it exhale? Is it mouth or is it nose? And you can combine all of this. Yeah. Short, sharp inhale through the nose will be way different than long, slow exhale through the nose. Yeah. So you have so much variables that you can control, and it goes both ways. You can calm yourself down, but you can also hype yourself up. You can activate your nervous system with yelling, grunting, and that's why they yell also before some performances. Or why the team before they go, hockey players, soccer, whatever, they go to the circle and 1, 2, 3, whatever
I was thinking of rugby. They hit each other.
Not even
they hit each other. Yeah.
Or the haka dance, right? It's grunting, yelling. You have also hitting your own body, which also stimulates sympathicus. It all has its purpose, It all has its purpose. We just not necessarily always can see it. Yeah, I did a couple of times when we had. I experienced this when I was in Denmark doing CrossFit, where I started with CrossFit, and we're supposed to go do Nancy, the workout Nancy, which is 5 rounds, 400-meter run, 15 overhead squats. And one guy just brought us in. I don't know what. Like, he wasn't a coach or anything, and there was a pretty good group of us, like 30 people, and he was like, guys, come. Like, we will hype ourselves up. And he was like, I will yell. What are we going to do? You will yell Nancy. We do it 3 times, and then at the end we'll go 3, 2, 1, Garrel CrossFit, Hey, I was never running faster than after this. It was very stupid because it was just the first round of the workout. But still, like, the level of energy of group of people yelling or chanting, it's crazy.
That's underestimated as well. The effect of, something like that, especially in a group. So, like, if one person's amped up, it has an effect on the other.
Yeah, and I heard artists saying that they have a concert which is insanely packed, and it was especially, I heard this couple of artists saying this after COVID, when there was 2-3 years nothing, and they had a concert, so people were like, finally, the artists were like, finally, yeah, so everybody was enjoying it. He said that he lived from the energy of one concert for half a year. How the people were, shouting the songs with him, because that can't be called singing anyway. But like, it has impact, and in a group even bigger. Yeah, that's also. Sure. I really like when we do the ice. I really like to be around, and I never let anybody, especially if it's somebody who is doing it first or second time, to be there on their own. I'm there and I'm guiding them. And again, I do the breathing with them. They are in the ice, but it's way easier if I tell them, breathe, exhale. That doesn't work. But if I go with them, it's like, okay, we go together. And I count on fingers, but I do the exhale with them, and they try to beat the length of the exhale with me, like they, And if you will do this 3 times, and the exhale takes 12 seconds, you have almost 40 seconds in, and they don't even realize it, And it's like, okay, you're doing good. There is a minute in a bit. Let's do 3 more breaths. They do 3 more breaths, and suddenly 90 seconds, and then they're like, I'm good. I can stay longer. It's like, yeah. Exactly. And that's the point.
That's I mean, I don't know if we should go too deep into this, but I think that, what you mentioned there about 40 seconds, they don't even realize.
Yeah.
Is there some sort of connection between how sympathetic or parasympathetic you are and your perception of time? Or is that, we get into going down too much of a rabbit hole there?
Well, I mean, I don't have any scientific data for this. I can just go by, anecdotal evidence, what we experience on the daily life. And I would say, because, sympathetic and parasympathetic, it's not either or. It's always kind of balance. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's always 60-40, 55-45. There is a balance. Which one is working more, which one is working less. Because yes, in a training, usually you are in sympathetic, but therefore your parasympathetic lowers down and slows down digestion, because that's the main, one of the main things that parasympathetic is responsible for, blood flow to the gut area. So there's digestion going on, but it doesn't mean it's stopped completely. It's still going on. It's just not a priority in that moment. Yeah. The same way, main thing of sympathetic is pushing as much blood flow to your muscles, because usually you need to use them. And that's why also even people sitting in a table and getting angry when there is practically zero physical expression, they will start to sweat and feel a muscle pump if they are really getting angry, because that's the blood flow going to the muscles. Again, just because you sleep and you are deep in parasympathetic, it doesn't mean there is no blood flow in your muscles. It's just lesser. Yeah. So it's very important to understand that these are, I would say, from what you can see in the eyes, what you can see in the training, that in extremes, when the ratio is really, really on the edges, 90-10, or, again, this is not a scientific data like 90-10 and you start to lose the sense of time. But, when the sympathetic is really, really high, yes, you're definitely losing sense of time. But also when parasympathetic is very, very high, because if you really into something and it's either meditation or just the most simple example of parasympathetic expression, sleep, you don't know how long you sleep when you wake up. Yeah, you can have some markers, because like, okay, so sun is already going up and so on, but you can't tell like, okay, this was 90 minutes, because you have no idea, right? So I would say that on the edges, yes, the time is perceived very differently. I would also say that in the eyes specifically, when we focus on that breathing in the eyes, they don't realize it because they are focused on something completely else. So that's why it's passing differently, because they are focused on the breathing, not on the timer. I never let them see the timer, because sitting there and literally like seeing how every second is just adding bit by bit, like that's a recipe for depression. Straight away.
Yeah. I think the most interesting and the part that I really wasn't expecting when I first came across it was the relationship of food to nervous system. And I followed, I don't know how much it's changed since then, but I followed something similar to what you were doing. So, eating at certain times of the day, depending on what's coming next, to influence your nervous system. And in fact, what I experienced after 4 days was the best sleep I'd had in 20 years. So can you dive into food and the nervous system?
Yeah. Very important disclaimer. Yeah. Nutrition is like a religion. Yeah. People don't like to be told what to do, because they eat from when they were born, right? So they understand it well enough. And there is very many interpretations and reasonings behind, many people. For example, I'll skip a little bit ahead and then I'll go back to the beginning. Many people will tell you that the carbs for dinner are great, because it spikes your insulin and this, and then insulin is anabolic hormone, and then you can recover better, For example, this is one of the reasonings. As a separate event happening in your body, it's possibly true. However, carbs don't only have impact on the insulin, they have other impacts as well. And therefore, and by the way, also eating anything has impact on insulin, even protein, because anything you eat will impact insulin. It just depends to what degree, yeah? And how big will be the spike and how long it will take. So, yes, there's so many people and reasoning and experts who will tell you this is the right way, this is the wrong way. How I'm looking at the nutrition, exactly what you said, I'm almost purely looking at how it impacts the nervous system. That's my primary goal.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I believe as nervous system is outside of certain very specific events, it's the highest boss in the body. In some very extreme cases, the hormonal system will kick slightly before than the nervous system because it's evolutionary older, and you might have some rapid release of hormones even without the impact of nervous system, but that release will impact the nervous system, and then the nervous system is coming back to regulate it. But overall, in a normal existence, how I'm looking at it, all starts with the nervous system. Even glands are many times ruled by nervous system. Yeah, some parts of the hierarchy from pituitary gland, it's regulated by nervous system.
So, sort of a simple way of thinking of it is you do something with your external environment, or you put something into your body from your external environment. Your nervous system is the way of you interpreting information or whatever you're putting into your body from the external world.
Yes.
And so it then reacts and causes hormones to be produced and causes the effects of those hormones ultimately. In most cases.
Well, it's not only about the food. Yeah, like you have a reaction. You can have hormonal reaction to not only the
sunlight,
food,
movement,
exactly, breathing,
walking past somebody in the street.
Even the amount of oxygen in the air will impact your hormonal level. But because most sensors we have in the body are coming from sympathetic and parasympathetic chains.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there are also chemical sensors and all that, but then you have so much communication and ruling of the body happening through the nervous system. You cannot just disregard it and always talk about hormones, which is, I find that, especially in the nutrition science, so many people are just talking about hormones and balance between insulin and glucagon and balance between testosterone and cortisol. But it's way more complex than that, because all of them are influenced by your nervous system. If not directly ruled by nervous system, then they are at least influenced by it. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, there is a stimulus from the outside. And now this is a proven science. We have gut flora, which is billions, not sure, millions for sure, millions of bacteria living in our small intestine. We have vagus nerve, which is 10th cranial nerve, and it's innerving a lot of stuff that it's actually one of the main parts of the parasympathetic nervous system. It's influencing your heart rate, it's influencing your digestive system, it's influencing your glands, it's influencing a lot of stuff. However, it's a two-way street. It's not only going what scientifically it's called efferent, which means from brain to the body, but there is also afferent, dorsal, which means back part of the vagus nerve, is afferent, which means signals coming from the body, and now in this case specifically from the gut flora, directly to the brain. Now,
and that's like 95% of messages come from the gut.
A lot. Yeah. There is and now I heard this somewhere, I don't have that confirmed, but I heard that there is more neural connections between gut flora and brain than there is neural connections in a spinal cord.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's insanely strong communication. You know, when they say you are what you eat, it actually doesn't necessarily only refer to the quality of the protein, quality of the carbs, or whatever you're having, that is literally taken and is your building block for your body, but it also means that whatever you eat is how you will behave. I can tell you one completely insane example. I have my best friend, Daniel. He is a doctor for, I don't know, 10 years, a doctor. And he was working on a different department. He was on the ER. He's also driving with an ambulance, but he's also anesthesiologist. Like, he is insanely smart, like next level smart, okay? And also he's the reason why I love physiology so much, because when I was talking to him, I was just like, oh my, he could explain it so well that I was always really attracted to it, thanks to him. And he knows that, hopefully, thanks to him. And he was telling me just a couple of weeks ago, we are always in contact. He lives in Germany now. And from time to time, as he would admit himself, he's not as disciplined about the food and stuff, yeah? So from time to time, he will have a McDonald's. And he observed on himself, and then, being doctor and being, driven, he started to do intentional experiments. One McDonald's meal, which is like, okay, he came, he did some fries, Big Mac, something, yeah? For 3 days, he had nihilistic and depressed mood for no reason. This is how strong it is. The processed food through the gut flora just messed it up and kicked his mood to a completely different level. The fact that we know that, okay, carbs are for activity, carbs are for activation, yeah? If we have carbs, it will stimulate our sympathetic nervous system for action. Well, it also makes sense because carbs are the fastest energy source, and energy, that's our main and fastest utilized and preferred energy source for all cells. Yeah, if they can choose between fast carbs and fat, they will always choose the fast carbs because they can. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's more available. That's your directly injected gasoline injection there. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have protein, again, makes sense. If you just look at normal anecdotal evidence, you have a steak. How much you feel you want to work out after having a steak?
Yeah, you feel like you want to go to sleep.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to sleep. You want to rest. Because once we got that deer or mammoth or whatever the animal was, and we deserved by hard action that heavy meal, we had it and we wanted to rest. We wanted to chill. Socialize.
So when you eat protein, it activates your parasympathetic.
Exactly. It's more.
And then I think that the main point that really made a lot of sense to me was that we like to eat all these things together.
Yes.
We're confusing our nervous system.
Yes, exactly.
Which in turn means, even this is going one step further, and it's hard for some people to grasp, but by eating these things in a mixed way all the time, and obviously low quality a lot of the time, you are sending confused signals from your gut to your brain, which then sort of shows up as, I don't know what I want to do with my life. Or I don't know if I'm hungry, or how am I feeling right now? I don't even know.
Yeah, can you, you know that feeling? I bet everybody knows it. Like, you have a lunch, classic lunch, and then you feel kind of like sleepy. But even if you have an opportunity to lie down and nap, you wouldn't really fall asleep because your thoughts are running.
Yeah. Do you know Paul Chek?
No.
Like holistic health, he calls it tired and wired.
Okay, nice. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this is it. Like, and we think this is normal because when you ask everybody in the office, they are having fucking same problem. So you think it's normal, right? Because everybody is having it, but there is a better way. There is a better way. And this is main thing. And now if we look at pure protein digestion and pure carb digestion, they're happening on a different pH. I don't want to say some bullshit, but I think the pH difference might be by 2 points. Like, you don't need as acidic environment to decompose carbs as you need for protein. If you put them together, you just already in stomach by acidity of the HCl, the hydrochloric acid that is in the stomach is almost the first contact with the food. You're already confusing it there, and that's on the physiological level of the juices and all that. But then the next step is you confusing the bacteria in the stomach, because so you feed the protein, so the ones that are responsible for being fed by protein, they are active, which is sending the brain the signal to chill out. But at the same time, you have active also the ones that are responsible for digestion of the carbs, that are sending brain a signal to go. It's just fucking mess.
And it's like I said, when I started eating like that. So tell me if I get this wrong, but essentially it's, you only eat carbs when you know you've got a workout coming up. You eat, because you want to activate
or activity. It doesn't necessarily need to be a workout, like
some sort of activity. Yeah.
Sorry,
if it's cognitive, then I know that fats becomes more complicated because it's saturated and unsaturated, and it plays differently with different people.
Look, I look at it like this. If it's plant-based, it's more towards the carby. Like avocado is not going to completely switch you off. If it's animal-based, like milk, fat, and all that it's more towards the... It's oversimplification, for sure, but in practice it works. It just works.
And so you're having fats throughout the day because most people throughout the day need that cognitive ability to remain active throughout the day because of their work. And then in the evening, eating protein to activate your parasympathetic so you get a better sleep. And the idea, and I did this for about 6 weeks, I think. And as I said, within 4 days, I had the best sleep I could remember. When I woke up, my first thought was, that's what it was like when I was 10 years old. I wake up and I can't stay in bed. I have to get up. And the interesting thing was, and this is one of the side effects, right? Initially, that some people report, and that's that I got that best sleep ever in 4 hours with intense dreams, because it was suddenly my parasympathetic was, I imagine, my parasympathetic was more activated than it usually was when I slept. Yeah. And my body saw that as an opportunity to catch up.
I would only correct the statement because it wasn't much about it. It kind of means the same thing, but you will understand. Like, it wasn't about your parasympathetic being more activated. It was about your sympathetic not being overactivated for that time period. You just dialed it down because you didn't stimulate the sympathetic, so the processes were happening naturally, and you could just rest. One thing about that, people start to freak out, especially athletes and professional athletes, when you tell them that they only can eat protein once a day, or like after training's done. I don't do it that way anymore. I used to, but lately, last couple of months, I started to train a lot more, and I train sessions in the morning, I train sessions at lunchtime, and I also train sessions in the evening. Not every day, all of them, but I have the schedule where sometimes I do all of it. I have the protein right after the training, because I know that next 3 to 4 hours, I'm not going to be physically active, and it's not... Because also you can scale it. It's not the heaviest protein. The heaviest, the steak, red meat, all that, I will have that at night. And through the day, I will have some eggs. Through the day, I might have some protein shake, so I know it's not optimal, but I wouldn't be able to get as much protein as I need in a normal food with this kind of load. So I just have it with a shake. I have unflavored, where I add the cocoa powder into it, so I flavor it myself. So it's the purest protein I can get,
Yeah.
But it's with a milk, so it's pretty heavy load. But because that thing is not going to crash me to a point that I just can't function. Not at all. I do the training, I have my protein, and I can function normally for next 3-4 hours. Then I go for a next training. After that, I have eggs. Then I function normally. I coach, I do online stuff, whatever I need to do. And then in the evening, I go for another session, come home, and I have double dinner. I have the steak or another kind of meat. And after that, I will have another protein shake. Just to, if I am lacking on the amount of protein I want to get.
And that's from somebody, you've been training for many, many years, and you're now doing a lot of volume.
Yes,
right?
yes. I do way more volume than I've ever done before.
Yeah.
It's not as intense necessarily because it's a different kind of activity and it's a lot of skill work, but it's way more volume than I've ever done before. When I wasn't doing this amount of volume and I was training once a day, I literally had protein at night. Done. Nothing else. No protein shake, nothing. One protein meal at night. And
I would just like to point out, right, when because I saw when you started doing this, like eating in this way and training in a particular way, which we haven't got time to go into today, but with the foundation of nervous system, I saw you put on muscle faster than I've seen anyone put on muscle in 6 weeks.
Yeah. That was the. I want to say 3 years ago, 2019, because you left 2020, right?
I left 2 weeks before COVID.
Yeah, so 2020. Good timing. Anyway, so it was summer 2019, and I start to experiment with this when my birthday is at the end of the summer, at the end of the August, and I was like, okay, from now on. 2 months. And I remember it was 1st of July until 31st of August. I was like, I will do every morning this kind of routine and I will follow this nutrition, And I had kind of like set of rules for myself. And at the end, I think in that 8 weeks, I was like 5 kilos up and it wasn't fat. It was
I can remember it was shocking.
Yeah, it was. And I was like, I just keep going. I didn't stop. I kept going for another year.
Yeah, I could see you, and I would see you from time to time working out in a wetsuit.
Yes, that was a big part of it.
Yeah. Can you, to quickly explain that?
Yeah. So the wetsuit, actually, I still use it to this day. I just don't use it on all training. I use it on a specific type of training, mainly my pure strength sessions, like the heavy sessions. I still use it. So basically wetsuit is, you get your neoprene like for surfing or whatever. By the way, funny enough, I've never used wetsuit for surfing. I only used it inside. Never used it for surfing. So I get my wetsuit, which is one size smaller than it would be comfortable. That's the whole idea. As we said, sympathetic receptors, that fight or flight activation receptors, are in the skin. 80% of them are in the skin. And the wetsuit idea, it came from Julian from StrongFit, and I was actually in the tester group, one of them, and you put it on and you will see for yourself. You just do your normal strength training in it. The session shouldn't exceed 30 to 40 minutes because you will start to overheat like crazy, but like crazy.
And you get a pool of sweat all over the gym.
Yes, I actually started to use the, what you call these sweatbands.
Oh, yeah.
I started to use them on my sleeves and on my ankles, because I just needed to stop that drainage of the sweat coming. Basically, the compression, because it's one size smaller, the friction on the skin, and the heat partially, but the heat is not the point. So just because you are hot, it doesn't mean you're working hard. That's not how it works. But the compression and the friction on the skin it just allows you to feel stuff way better. I actually had this conversation with one of my friends lately where we were talking about something about muscle imbalances and stuff. And I was like, well, I'm not saying I don't have any, but I know of all of them and I know what to do to keep them under control. Because for me, muscle imbalance is a problem if it's painful or if it's compromising your performance in some way. Yeah. Until then, one side stronger than the other, it's not a problem. It's a natural thing. Like it will happen, especially the more pro you go in certain sports, like for example, tennis players have 30% stronger one arm than the other, which is a lot. Yeah. But you don't want them to have them 50-50 because then they probably wouldn't be at the top. Yeah. Anyway, the muscle brain connection you create, and I on purpose said muscle brain because that's what you're getting, the impulse of how the muscle is working to your brain, the feeling of the pump, the feeling of the contraction. You literally will start to feel like, why my middle fibers on the tricep are working less than the outside. And like these kind of insane sensations that you don't even know you should have. And it starts to pop in. And thanks to that, you build insane awareness. But with that also comes your ability, because it's a two-way street. It comes from muscle to brain, but now you can activate it better as well. So instead of doing heavy benches where you're focusing on moving the bar, I don't even have to have that heavy benches, but I focus on a complete, absolute, total squeeze of that muscle through the contraction that is actively created. So my goal is not moving the barbell. My goal is not moving the dumbbell. My goal is purely creating contraction with my muscles. And as an accessory work and strength work, it worked insanely. Like I put a lot of muscle on. I got way stronger than I was. And I also was able to feel stuff, which led to better managing of the imbalances, right? Because then you look at the muscle chains and how it works, and you know what to do and how to fix it, or at least like that's what we were after, right? So so wetsuit was amazing, and you need to eat a lot of fats to recover from these kind of sessions, and you can't exceed too much time because you will start to like. I exceeded it a couple of times. That's why I know. Yeah, like the same with ice. Yeah, there's one point I want to say towards the length, how long to be in the ice. Just remind me, please. But if you get that overreach in that wetsuit, it will kind of become like you get like confused and dizzy, and you can't focus anymore. At that moment it's too far. Like you just rather stop. It's not going to lead to anything good, And I was as simple as that. I was following, thanks to Julian from StrongFit, I was following the Ed Cohen strength protocol, which it was literally a week. I'm saying per week, 2 working sets on squats. Of course, there is a build up and warm up and all that, but 2 working sets on squats. 2 working sets on strict press, I believe. 2 working sets on bench press and 2 working sets on deadlift. So 8 working sets per week. And it was amazing, the amount of sleep and fats I was eating and sleep I needed to recover from it was crazy because, of course, if you push too much one way, which was activation of the nervous system, then you need to compensate it on some other side. I still remember, and sometimes this client of mine, she's funny. She's sometimes still reminding me that like she came for an evening session, and I was after this. Yeah, I did this at lunchtime. I drank like half a liter to liter of heavy cream just to compensate with the fat. Had a 2-hour nap, and I came there. And she was like, "Hey, are you here?" because I was
Just
so
spaced out.
off, I was like, yeah, just go, just So it takes the toll, but it works. And I had a couple of people with that same protocol. And it was like once a week or twice a week, training in the wetsuit, focusing on the muscle activation. It's incredible.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
But I don't think, we both know this. Training in a wetsuit is unlikely to catch on. It's not going to be mainstream. But the principles behind it, making a focus on tension rather than how much weight am I lifting, or, how does this movement look, or how good does it look on Instagram? As we always said, it's not what you do, it's how you do it, right? You've got the focus on the tension, the contraction, then that's giving your nervous system information. Okay, that he's whatever he's doing is serious. We need to get better at this.
I actually wrote this down into the ebook, and it's like this little chart where it's like nicely explained, and I'll try to explain it now briefly. Basically, there are like kind of 3 basic levels of people in the gym and how they approach training. Yeah. First, they are literally on a level where the training is happening to them. Yeah, like they are there, but it's kind of like just happening to them. Let's take a deadlift. Yeah, they will do a set of deadlifts, and it's like, and you tell them, so where did you feel it? And they're like, what do you mean? I did deadlifts. Point A, point B, the bar moved. Okay, it's way more common than we would like to see. Yeah, this kind of stuff. Also, I've seen people doing bicep curls, and it's like, what did you feel? Oh, here on my shoulder. It's like, don't you understand that the bicep curl is not about that, But anyway, that's the first stage. Definitely not good. Awareness, very, very low. Second, when people start to understand it, they are able to describe where they feel it, either day after the training because they're sore on that part, or after the set, like, oh yeah, I felt it on my hamstrings. I did it with my hamstrings. I did it with my glutes. Yeah, but still, they are doing the movement. They are doing it. And the ultimate level, what we want, what I got to really understand thanks to the wetsuit. I don't mean that you need to do the wetsuit to understand it, but I got there through that. As you said, it's probably not going to catch up as a mainstream, even it would probably help people. And if there's just one crazy person who wants to try it, amazing, go for it. It's very good. And also the looks you're getting in a gym, not many people want to talk to you. I had people, other coaches. I was head coach that time, and there were other coaches, and they didn't even come to ask me. They were just like behind my back, like, why is he doing it? Why is he? And they never came to ask me. I would tell them everything. I would tell them to join me, but they never went to ask me. You asked me, but some others are like, what? Why is he doing it? The ultimate level of that is that when you go to do the deadlift, you get there, you lean over, you focus on where is the tension, and you don't do the movement, you create the movement with that right muscles. And as you go up, you feel, okay, it's my hamstrings and the glutes. All right, next rep, it's my hamstrings. Oh, okay, there was more towards the back. I need to change something. You know what I mean? Like you actually have in time feedback of how well you are doing. That's the afferent signals. So you can use that and use the efferent signals to do it even better. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course, what comes into this is breathing, because breathing creates awareness if you do it right. If you're inhaling on concentric, which means this might not 100% apply if you're using cable machines, but basically, if you're going against gravity or against resistance, that's usually concentric. Yeah. So against resistance,
the hard part.
Yeah. unless you're doing slow negative, then the slow negative is the hard part. Yeah. But yeah, the hard part where when you pushing on the push-up, when you pulling on the pull-up, if you do that movement with inhale, but through the whole movement, not just at the beginning, through the whole, it will cause a vasodilatation, which means widening of the veins in the body
veins,
in that muscle, which means you will get better pump, you will get better awareness. And then on the exhale, you just go until the exhale goes, which will determine your natural range of motion. If you follow this, it's amazingly safe and you will get pump like never before, just by focusing on the proper breathing.
Yeah.
So on deadlift, yes, that means you pulling when you inhaling. And never had such a pump in hamstrings like on that. It's crazy. Yeah. It works.
I think the main thing to take away from it is you have a goal, right? And which most people don't do, you should be training in a very specific way with very specific sort of things that you're looking for. In this case, tension. I should be feeling it in these places on this exercise. Yep. The more I can feel it there, the better result I'm getting. That's going to make me stronger in those places and put on muscle. Whereas the most common approach to, even if it's getting strong, it's just, I'll go and do this type of training or this program, and there isn't the focus on, okay, what do you actually want? What are you actually going to do in this rep?
As you're 100% right. As the former CrossFitters, there was a lot of bashing and ridiculing bodybuilders. Yeah, because that's not functional and this and that. And it's it's not probably functional, but I can tell you that the closest you can get to building muscle awareness this way is bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. They know how to do it. Why? Because on their shows, they actually need to flex that muscles correctly to show them. So they can control them.
They need the brain-muscle connection.
Yes, they have it. Maybe with gymnasts, because they are incredible in operating their body, probably on the highest level from all sports. Everything, especially games and ball games and all that, baseball, basketball, football, it's all about the object of the game. It's not about how the body is getting there. And that on the long term can be dangerous. That's why they should have a strength and conditioning, but they come to a strength and conditioning program and they approach it the same way they approach the game. So it's point A to point B. Yeah.
More reps.
Yeah. More reps.
More reps, more weight.
Yeah. And it's not about that. It's about, as you said, intentionally doing what you want to achieve. Yeah. And if you don't know how, or if you don't know what you want, just it takes a couple of very rightly directed questions from somebody who understands it, and they will help you. Yeah, and that's you, that's me. Yeah, somebody will come to me. It's like, well, but I would like this and this and this, but I don't know, and I want to get stronger, but I also want to be being able to breathe enough, not to be smoked by this because I'm going to play basketball on the weekends. That's all cool. It's all over the place. With a couple of right directed questions, we can figure out what you actually want, and then what you need to get there.
Man, there's so many. So many rabbit holes we go down at the moment. People not knowing what they want, taking personal responsibility. These were all things we were supposed to talk about on this podcast. But we don't have time now.
I know. Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to say, just so if anyone's listening, that when I was talking about the nutrition that I did with you years ago, I got two main things that were really good for me. My sleep massively improved, And because I was eating in that way and my nervous system was clear, let's say, the signals were clear.
Yeah.
So the only way I can describe it is my mind was way clearer. So it was like, I would be like, okay, yeah, I'm thirsty now, or I'm hungry now and I want broccoli.
Oh, the hunger is a completely different
or
story.
How do I take this, how do I make this decision, this life decision? Very simple. Everything was much clearer. So I think, well, that I'm massively on board with the way that you do things and basing it on the nervous system. And as I told you a couple of days ago, it's time for me to stop with the endurance stuff for a bit. And I've never trained to specifically or very clearly just for strength and to put on some muscle.
The key point and the key kind of takeaway from everything what we are talking about is one thing is that, yes, we want to affect our nervous system, so we are in charge. Obviously, that's the whole idea of what we do. Yeah, we want the nervous system under our control. Not the other way around. Not things just happening to us and we being reactive. Yeah. Of course, there will be things happening to us, but we can respond. We don't have to just hastily react. Yeah. But before we get that ability to control the nervous system, we need to build awareness, as you said, to read the signals, to actually know what is happening, because how can we respond correctly if we can't even read what is going on? And that's breathing first. Just observing your own breath, you can tell if it's mouth, it's short, it's irregular. You know that you are way more sympathetic than you should be, especially when you're just sitting and doing nothing. Yeah? Nose only breathing, completely calm, long exhales. Brilliant. That's what we are after in the environment where we want to be calm. Obviously, we go opposite way when we want to activate for whatever reason. The yelling and grunting and all that, what we spoke about. Then nutrition, separating carbs and protein. As a first step, protein for rest, carbs for activity. It's that simple. Yeah, like these are the basic principles, and it's not hard to apply it. The hard thing is that people don't. It's not that they don't know how. They don't want to do the decision to actually do it and to put that effort in. Yeah, and usually if you are not sure and you have a question, you are already on the wrong track. Just read it again. Carbs for activity, protein for recovery, and separate them. Yeah, fats to fill up. That is as simple as that. And if it's this saying, right? Like if you have to ask, the answer is already no. Because it's that simple. It's that simple that you should not have to ask. You're already trying to find a loophole. You're already trying to cheat the system with that question. It's like, no. No, don't do that. Just follow what is said, and it will work. And then obviously training, which connects both, right? You fuel well for the training because you're going to train. Have some carbs, then focus on the breathing. So you build that awareness, and the more awareness you will build, the more you can on the other side translate to that action of applying what you gained. Yeah. So it starts with the awareness, but you don't want to only stop there. It's a lot of learning about yourself, but then it's about applying.
Yeah. This is what I think I love most about your approach, is that it's not just, the majority of coaches out there, the majority of people working in the fitness space or nutrition or whatever it is, first of all, they're quite siloed, do my program or eat this way. And it's normally for something very surface level, and it doesn't take into account the whole person's life. And I think what you're doing is giving that people, it's sort of a different route into what people would expect, to building self-awareness, to having more energy, to having more focus, to being clearer in what you want in life and being able to take the action to move towards it.
And the thing is also, and I know that's going back to the things that we were supposed to talk about. That's the discipline and kind of self-discipline and responsibility for your action. Everything what I said, people can do on their own. There's nothing they need a coach for. And yet I still have a lot of clients.
It's accountability.
Yeah,
in the end.
It's accountability, and they want the guide. They rather have the guide at the beginning, and that's completely fine. But the whole idea is to build it independently. You know, like we are not selling dependency. You know, like
accountability.
If I write you this program, you will do it, and if I don't write it to you, then you won't do it. Like.
I know about this stuff, not as much as you, but I know about it. I've done a lot of it before, and I'm literally like, when we stop this recording, I'm asking you for a program. You know, because I want. It's the way I like to do everything. I take a model, you know, of something that's successful. I follow it. I have a bit of accountability.
Yeah.
While in my mind, what I'm thinking is, while my nervous system clears itself up, I develop more self-awareness, and then I say, okay, Paolo, thanks. I'm good to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But also the program that I do for people, it's a lot about self-exploration. You know, like, for example, I will tell people, even on one-on-ones or in the program, I will tell them, I want you to do, I don't know, I'll just make shit up. Yeah, I want you to do single leg hinge. Now, I don't care if it's a step up. I don't care if it's a single leg Romanian deadlift. I don't care about how you do that. I'm looking for you to do a movement pattern that you're comfortable with.
Where you feel the right thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like it would be a pretty broad to tell you, do something where you feel hamstrings. That's a little bit too broad, but with some people, you can also do that. Depends on what is the goal. But overall, like, okay, do deadlifts, feel hamstrings. I don't care if it's Romanian, kettlebell, dumbbell, barbell. It doesn't matter, because that is just a tool for your hamstring to get loaded and potentially developed. That's it, you know? And therefore, they will pick one exercise, first of all, they are comfortable with. And if they will pick it and it won't work, they know they can change it without texting me that, is it okay if I do it with 2 dumbbells? Is it okay if I do it with the kettlebells? Like, I don't give a shit.
And the long-term outcome of that is they know
exactly.
I need to train my hamstrings.
Yeah.
Okay. I know what works for me.
Yeah.
It's empowering that person, and it's giving them, again, it's giving them the model, it's giving them the tools, which allows them to create their own.
Yeah, you know,
and to develop further.
I had a couple of clients who became coaches, and I also have a couple of clients now who have no intention of becoming coaches, but I would say that they would be better coaches than some of the coaches I know. Because we talk about, like, they will come, we talk about principles. We talk about why behind it. I don't have to tell them what air squat looks like. I don't have to, first of all, they are here long enough so they know, yeah? But I'll just tell them, okay, so you're doing this today, and I want you to feel that muscle group specifically engaging. I was like, okay. And they know what we are after, and that's it. Yeah? Explore, find what works for you. Because narrowing stance might work for you, might not work for somebody else.
It also might not work 4 weeks later.
Exactly. Yeah, it can. Exactly. It can be you just stiffer than normal because you slept or you didn't sleep as well as you could, and it's the variables are changing. That's why also following numbers in the training is just, it's a recipe for disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And numbers, reps and sets, kind of okay. Kind of, so you have some idea where it should be. I still like ranges more. Yeah, like let's say 3 to 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps. Okay. Because if there's a example of this. I had one lady, she is morbidly obese. She came to me and she told me, we first had only conversation, then she came for training as well. On the training, she said she never worked this hard ever before, but she told me that she's training 10 years already. And I was like, okay, so what do you do? Well, I have this fitness coach and we do 4 sets of 12. I was like, okay, so she's doing a bodybuilding program, bodybuilding oriented program. She's 150 kilos maybe. I don't know the number now. But the thing is, I asked her like, okay, because, well, bodybuilders 4 times 12 is not a bad thing, but you should always go close to failure. Yeah. With your effort, then it makes kind of sense for that muscle being engaged. I was like, okay, so and why 12? I was like, because my coach told me. I was like, okay, how you feel at 12 when you do your 4 sets of 12? How you feel on the 12th rep? She's like, okay. I was like, yeah, that's exactly the problem. Yeah. You're not supposed to feel okay. And that's why 12 what? It doesn't make any fucking sense. You want certain range because, okay, I would say range of light, medium, heavy, where the heavy will be up to 5 reps, medium will be up to, let's say, 8 to 15, and then light will be anything you can do 20 and more. But in these ranges, that's all you need to know based on what is your goal, because what if you do 4 times 12? It can destroy you because it's too heavy, or it can be doing nothing for you just because it's written in the program.
You could get a lot of tension, a lot of contraction in the wrong muscles.
Yeah, because after 7th rep, those that are targeted are already gone. And just for the sake of it's set fucking 12, I will finish 12. You just do the lateral with the traps instead. What's the point? You just work completely different muscle group, and you're actually creating a wrong movement pattern, because now you're teaching your body that when we do
you're teaching a wrong movement pattern. You're probably also adding stress to
something that is stressed already.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, Paolo, I think I'm going to have to cut us off there.
Yes, of course.
Because I know what we're like. We've often had phone calls that last at least 3 hours.
I told you this has to be open-ended.
Yeah.